everyone. Welcome to this lecture. My name is Albright Chinaeme, and I will be talking on the topic achieving gender parity in leadership. We'll be looking at the strategies and the challenges that faces gender parity in general and also in leadership. Welcome again. Before I talk a little bit about myself, I would love to appreciate Instride Pathways Youth Foundation for having me here and also for putting together this annual 30-day career boost initiative for African youth. This is really lovely and it is giving back to the community. Well done, Instride Pathways. Right. Okay, straight to who I am. Well, like I said, my name is Albright Chinaeme. I'm a Nigerian graduate of the University of Ibadan. I studied European Studies and I am a deep lover of global affairs and sustainable development. During my undergraduate days, I was a member of the University of Ibadan Model United Nations, whereby we had simulations about the United Nations, and I had an introduction in how diplomacy works, international politics works, and it created a passion inside me. And from there, I collaborated with SDG Like Minds to execute projects, which was aligned with the SDG 3, which is good health and well-being, SDG 4, quality education, and SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. I love to see myself as a visionary change leader, future ambassador, and catalyst for change. Before we go right in the into the topic, I would love to say this. I want us to have a passion about the SDG, not because that we it is a list of things that a government body or an organization put together uh, and it's used to sort out things and making plans on SDGs can probably get you a job and such like that or opportunities. But I want us to see the SDGs as a way to give back to the community. This is a list of problems that are facing the world globally. Each and every different parts of the world are facing these various problems listed as the SDG 17. If you don't know anything about them, I would love to indulge you into them. I would love that you go back, do your studies on them right after this lecture and know what they are. See what you want to do and start working on it. See what interests you and start working on it so that you can live in a changed world, in a world suitable for you, and we are living a more suitable world for our next generation. Yes. So we're going to be talking about this is the overview for the whole for the whole lecture. We're going to be looking at the definition of gender parity. We'll be looking at importance of achieving gender parity. We're going to be looking at the state of gender parity globally. We're going to be looking at right here. We're going to be looking at the statistics and what countries are actually facing when it comes to gender parity. Then we'll look at the challenges to the strategies in achieving gender parity. I would love us to go through the challenges before getting to the strategies because we cannot look at a solution if we don't know what the problems are. Once we know what the problems are, we can figure out okay, what's the next step for us in achieving gender parity. Okay, now to the definition. Parity refers to equal representation and participation of women and men in terms of numbers, roles, and decision making power in all aspects of life. This simply means that in every aspect of life, in workforce and leadership, in a boardroom filled with executives, or brainstorm a brainstorm meeting or a parliamentary a parliamentary in a country, both men and women are equally represented there. We both have men and women there. We just don't have more numbers of men or and less numbers of women, or more numbers of women and less number of men. We need to have both more numbers of men and both more numbers of women equally represented there, and with an equal chance to speak and voice out their initiative and all. What are the importance of achieving gender parity? When it comes to achieving gender parity, we would be looking at getting to gender parity brings us to better decision making. When we have both a male and a female working on, let's say, a product that would serve the public, we need a a solution, right? A product is meant to serve, to sort out a problem, and so we need a solution from both a male and a female, so that once their minds are put together, it can both serve the public, the general public. General public, both the male and female. For example, let's say a toilet. If you've ever passed a male toilet and looked into it, just for some reason, if you're female or if you're male and you visited a male toilet, you'll see there's a urinal bowl there where it is easy for male to ease themselves there. But meanwhile, in if a woman was just in the decision making of that, of all toilets, oh, they would just say this is how it's comfortable for women. I don't think we need it in any other way. They would not be able to see, okay, how is it going to serve the men in the public. So the next importance is for increased innovation. Gender parity in leadership fosters creativity, innovation, and problem solving. Men and women think differently, while they think differently individually. Let me come again slowly. A man can think differently based on his gender and based on his individuality. So if you subject the public space, to the public work or leadership to just a male person, there will not be a vast there will not be a vast innovation or infrastructure in the world in general. Meaning that, okay, if a man is about to think about everything, he might not be able to cover everything. A woman as their own self, and as the gender, as a female, possesses innovations that she herself brings to the table, and everybody's voices accordingly should be heard. And the next one is economic growth. We To raise the GDP of a country, you need more work laborers in the workforce. That means both men and women should be accorded accordingly to the workforce, so that there can be growth in the economy, and it also brings equal competitiveness. But male and female can compete to get a leadership role, or to get a top role or in a company and such. Now, to the state of gender parity globally, we're going to be talking on the statistics. Mind you, okay, sadly, the gender that has suffered from imparity is the female gender. We're going to be talking a lot about the female gender when it comes to the statistics, because based on history, based on our current state, the women have been subjected to just the private sector. For example, during the Nazi Germany of 1933, when Hitler was ruling Germany, the women were there was a propaganda whereby the women were not allowed to be seen in public work. Meanwhile, they were allowed to see in the private work, meaning they had to cook, they were allowed to cook, they were even motivated to cook, to clean, and to take care of the children as their job, their day-to-day job, like that's their job. And if you sector like in the public work, she's either a cleaner or a clerk. In today's world, we still have some conservative countries whereby they don't allow their women to work. They keep them, and if the women want to work in public sectors, they go through a lot of laws and a lot of strictness before they can get to work. And every day it's a struggle for them to work. Doing what they love is a struggle for them. And this is the statistics based on the World Economic Forum. This is the Global Gap Report for 2024, according to the World Economic Forum. They stated that 146 countries included in the edition for 2024 stands at 68.5% for the global gender gap closed. There are 146 countries that were included in 2024, and they are just it is 68.5% through. Meanwhile, they are heading to 100%. That means the gender gap for allowing both men and female to be in the workforce, in the public workforce, has just been closed by 68.5%, just within 146 countries. Meanwhile, the United Nations recognize 195 countries. You can imagine the gap that still need to cover in this. And it further said, compared against the construct sample of 143 countries included in 2023, the global gender gap has been closed by a further plus 0.1% from 68.5% to 68.6%. That means if it is being compared to what they had last year, which they had 143 countries, it's only covered by plus 0.1%. In the orange part in this graph, you would see the that this is the list of countries, and in the blue part, that's the percentage. The list of countries did increase. That is a plus for us, for the world, but then there's still so much more to do, because if it's compared, it's just plus 0.1%. That is not a lot of coverage. They furthered by saying, when considering 101 countries covered continuously from 2006 to 2004, the cap has also improved by plus zero point 0.1 points. In 2006, they had 101 countries, and in 2004, they have 146 countries. That's a lot. That's a plus. They had 45 countries added. But then, if you see the number of years that before they got that countries, the remaining countries added, it's quite far, and the gap that has been able to close meanwhile is also quite little. The World Economic Forum further by saying, based on the current database, the World Economic Forum concluded that it would take 134 years to reach full parity, and that is roughly 5 generations beyond the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal target. The SDG 7 was created for it to be hit at 2030, but then they are saying it will take 5 generations to achieve full parity, 5 generations beyond to achieve full parity in the world. That is like that is like yeah, that's a lot of years. That's a lot of years to achieve this. Uh, the top 10 countries that has been able to close the gender gap in their country, in their economy rather. So the World Economic Forum also listed 10 countries whereby they were able to close the gender gap in their economy. And if you look at them, you will notice that 7 of the countries are from the European Union, and 3 of them are from either the Eastern Asia and the Pacifics, meaning that the European Union are mostly the countries that are into achieving gender parity. But if you check it out, you will also notice that the European Union are also going further in achieving most of the SDGs, especially going green and cutting on climate change and dealing with climate change. And if you notice, first um the first country listed is just 93.5% into achieving gender gap. That is a lot of progress, I must say. But then, like I've been saying, there's still work to be done. In general, 97% of the economies included in this edition have closed more than 60% of their gap, compared to the 85% of the economies in 2006 edition, making the economic participation and opportunity gap closed by 60.5%. This is a lot of work being done on achieving it, and the economic participation and opportunity gap globally has been closed by 60.5%. We have like roughly roughly 40% to go. The political empowerment gap has been closed by 22.5%, and the women accounting for 42% of the global workforce. When it comes to the political side of, like when it comes to women in politics globally, we just have 22.5. And me, we're talking about leadership here. Why not the political aspect of leadership? Women are in politics, but they are not really appreciated, they're not really encouraged. We see that people there are some countries that don't appreciate women presidents, but thank God that we're having so a few women presidents come up, and a few female presidential candidates coming up, and it's such a relief. But 42% of the global workforce, that's where women are. And like I said, we're going to be talking mostly about women because they're the ones that have suffered. But I say suffer now, but then they haven't gotten gender parity in the workforce. Talk less of leadership. Gender parity in parliamentary representation reached a record high of 33% in 2024, nearly doubling since 2006, which had 18.8%. In 2006, there was only 18.8 parity. Now it is 33%. I know of countries that just opened their parliamentary to females before. They only had male in their parliamentary, and there are some countries that have females in their parliamentary, but whatever they say do not count. They are just there to to say, oh, okay, we have them there. Then we have women make up Women make up over half of the workforce base in non-STEM roles, having 47.3%, while a third in STEM sectors of 28.2%. STEM means science, technology, engineering, and math. And now this is what they call professional roles. Meanwhile, we have 28.2% of women in those roles globally, while we have 47.3% of women in non-STEM roles. There is no work that is non-important and important, but allow me to say it like this. According to their statistics or their yardstick, women are not really in the important work. We just have 28.2% of representation of women in in quotes important work. Now to the challenges, then we'll look at strategies in achieving gender parity. One of the challenges we have faced is unconscious bias and stereotyping. This is when uh, a male a male says that, "Oh, okay, she's a female, she can't do this work," or "She's a female, she's too emotional," "She's a female," or trying to beat down or stereotyping now when they say that, "Oh, that work is for males, it's not for me," or they say that work is for female, it's not for me. Hey, that is absolutely absurd, because there is nothing like a male's work and there is nothing like a female's work. Every work should be done according to each person's capacity, and a capacity is built based on your experience, based on your willingness to learn, based on what you know and how you execute things. So there is nothing like women's work, there's nothing like male's work. And funny enough, we have cultures, religions that have grounded this stereotype words, stereotype jobs in us and make us think like, okay, a male can't do that. Why would a male be a nurse? Why would a male be cooking? That is really absurd. And the solution to this is bias training. I would also say that before a person can train another person in not being biased, the person has to come to the terms of fact that everybody is equal, both male and female, and everybody has equal chances in achieving their goals and their dreams in life. Everybody can reach out to do something if they want to do it, if their heart has been set to it, and if they're equally, or their experience, they're qualified. Yes. So when we have bias training in our hearts, where we see a male doing a particular work, we don't stereotype him. When we see a female doing a particular work, we don't stereotype her. That's when the bias training, we start by ourselves and start to talk to other people when we hear them say such like, a woman does not have a say in any discussion. This is men's talk. We have to put that down and say no. Hey, this is not so. This is not according, and that's where the bias training starts from. The next problem is lack of representation and role models. People, let me say now, people are looking for role models to look up to, because a female now can be in her bedroom or in her classroom thinking that, oh, I want to really be a governor, but then my father has said that my schooling has to stop in secondary school. How would I learn? How would I know what to do? There should be role models going out and helping those people of people that have already mounted a sphere of influence. Let's say, for example, if a female wants to go into politics, if a woman that is in politics and influential enough, she can come back and give to the community. I've seen different politicians in other countries calling females from various countries into a conference room and telling them their experiences, giving them advices on how to do it. And when people that aspire to be this, when they see them that there is a person that is already doing it, trying to break the status quo, they are much more motivated. So I guess I've already talked about the solution already, which is implementation of mentorship and sponsorship programs, and people that are influential already in that sphere of influence comes back and sponsor people. Okay, you want to be this, I'm going to sponsor your education to do this. Okay, you want to do this, fine, I'm going to sponsor you to do it. Likewise, the male, a female can also sponsor a male that wants to do this. Like I said, there is no diversity, there is equality. When people want to do something and you know they are motivated enough, they are qualified enough, we give to them back by helping them, by sponsoring them. Likewise, even people that are not yet in the influential role, you can motivate them into doing what their heart desires. The next problem we see is work life balance. Like I said again, I'm going to be using the female as an example because we all know the female to be the one in the home. They're the ones that get pregnant, they're the ones that have to nurse and all like and stuff like that. So when it comes to work life balance, I want to use an example of Iceland, and most of the European countries still that give their workers, their male workers, paternity leaves. You know, when a female puts to bed, she goes on a maternity leave, taking care of the children. Also, in countries like Iceland, in countries like Iceland, Italy, Poland, Singapore, Spain, Netherlands, they offer 100% pay for full duration of paternity leave. Yeah, again, I've already again into the strategy enacting of paternity and maternity leave. When an organization or a government gives their male workers who have wives that are put to bed paternity leave to go home and take care of their children, take care nurture the baby, because the children, they don't just need just the father, just the mother, they also need the father. I've seen children that don't grow up right, they grow up with insecurities and low self-esteem because they didn't find their father figure right in the home. Their father was taking care of the bills and working 247, but in initiating paternity leave and maternity leave, even any kind of leave, just to give them some break. Even the workers themselves, they go on break, and the and the workers go on break, and even during childbirth. I know I know of a system whereby the the wife goes on her maternity leave for the first 3 months, whereby her husband comes the next 3 months for his paternity leave and takes care of the child, while the wife is allowed to go back to work and focus on her career. That is where there is balance, there is a workspace balance, there is a home balance, that's a healthy environment. Also, when the children are getting older, we can have the mother can have the drop off and the father have the pick up, meaning that the mother have the time for the children during the morning, take care of them and take them to school, while the father brings them back from school. and take care of them and play with them and have some time with his children. The next problem is resistance to change. Resistance to change. We have different cultures around us. We have different religions that support some things, and they're being conservative. Of course, they know why they have these structures in place to ensure that there is safety and there is no intrusion, there is no sin and such like that. The strategy is to make structures to reforms. When reforms come about where they say, oh, let's allow our wives to be in the public space, let's allow our females to be in the public space, and there's a kind of resistance, you can, an organization or the government can assure that place, that particular environment, that particular tribe, that there's going to be a structure to make sure that there is not going to be any crossing of boundaries, right? There will not be spoiling, there won't be any spillage of culture, of tradition, and stuff like that. So these are industry specific challenges and strategies we have for the STEM fields. Addressing the underrepresentation of women in science, technology, engineering, and math, we can go by engaging from the start. Governments can, or schools in particular, can ensure that their children, their students, their students learn from an early stage things on science, technology, engineering, and math. It's not that the instead of classifying it, before classifying it, probably in the primary school or in the junior secondary school, every child is implemented into the STEM field. They know everything particular they should know about it. They have a strong foundation to this. So when there is a problem, they don't look for particular professionals, because everybody knows is to an extent, everybody knows how to incorporate this field. Then the next one is corporate boardrooms. We need to increase women's representation on corporate boardrooms, in corporate boards. And yes, then the next one is politics and government. Achieving gender parity. This is achieving gender parity in elected and appointed positions. This boils down to individual bias and not picking a leader based on gender. Because I have seen whereby a female is running against a male in the presidential race, and oh, they say, oh, she's a woman, don't allow the woman be there, or let a man take the job, is a man's work. There's nothing like a man's work. Again, I'm saying that again. Then best practices and case studies. This is what we need to implement, or this is how we can implement the strategies, right? And this is successful organizations. Analyzing companies that have achieved gender parity in their leadership, asking them like, oh, okay, you were able to achieve gender parity in this, like let's say country companies in Iceland. We'll ask them, how were you able to do this? What was the balance? And also, they can bring out more strategies into this. Then the next one is country specific initiative, examining national policies and programs on gender parity. Like I said, there are different countries that have different propaganda and policies, and when we examine national policies that encourage women to be in the public workforce in leadership. We're able to know and say, oh, okay, this is how we're going, how they did it. Let's see if this works for us, and if in the long run, if it works, we they implement the policy in full. Then lesson learned, sharing experiences and insights from leaders who have driven gender parity initiatives. Now we go, like when we go to different leaders or different organization and looking at, oh, okay, there are more men represented and also more women represented. How did you do this? Learning from them and their process. So I would love to give you a little charge. As much as we talk about the main gender and how the male gender is there, we are not trying to demean the male gender at all. But then we all know that the female gender needs a lot of work, and this is, we know that we need more women in spaces so that economics economic growth of different countries and even the world in general can bloom. We need to we need to motivate our females, we need to motivate the women in our countries, the women in our organizations, the women in our in our schools. We need to motivate them in being empowered in different spheres of life, be it politics, be it the media, be it wherever, computer, in tech, be it wherever. We need to empower them and encourage them to be there, and also give them the skills, teach them the skills on how to yield tangible qualifications, right? So this will be all on our talk, on our lecture today. Thank you all for listening. I hope this really gave you a change of mind. Thank you very much.